Story games have always been my favorite genre. There's just a certain magic to a really good story game. And I'm not talking about a story that's just a decent distraction, but one that really sinks its teeth into you. Days, months, hell, even years later. Games like Ghost of Tsushima, Batman Arkham Asylum, Marvel's Spider-Man, and GTA are cinematic masterpieces. I've gone as far as replaying Spider-Man with each suit, and I've never got bored. Not even once. That's how good it is. And one of the best tropes inside of story games has to be the dad game. You've got The Last of Us, a miserable yet beautiful story about a broken man finding a new reason to live. God of War, a game about a literal god of war learning how to be a father while navigating his own past. In The Walking Dead, Lee is forced into the father figure role for Clementine in the middle of an apocalypse. Games like these are absolute titans in the industry. I mean, what's not to love? Who wouldn't want to roleplay as a middle-aged man with severe emotional trauma? But recently, there's been a new dad game on the horizon. No, not that horizon. Released on April 17th, Pragmata took its sweet time coming out, but the wait was well worth it. The game sold over 1 million copies in its first 2 days, and after finally playing it myself, yeah, I get it. It takes the best aspects from other dad games and builds upon them to make something even better. The story follows Hugh Williams, an engineer sent to investigate a lunar research station after all communication with Earth suddenly cuts off. Things immediately go to shit after a moonquake wipes out most of the crew and leaves Hugh stranded inside the facility. Thankfully, he's rescued by this little robot girl, DI-03367, 67, who Hugh simply dubs Diana. Together, the two fight through the station while being hunted by a rogue AI called Edis. And despite how simple the setup sounds, Pragmata actually executes it really well. But before we can talk about why Pragmata is so good, we need to talk about the actual formula behind dad games in the first place. Also, before we continue any further, this video contains massive spoilers for basically the entire game. So I recommend you either go play it for yourself, unless you don't really care about spoilers. Now, the term dad game has existed for quite a long time, but it only really started to stick around 2018 with the release of God of War. And while most of these games have completely different settings and gameplay styles, most of them are built on the same 3 pillars. The first being the Protector. The protagonists for these games are almost always some kind of terrifyingly dangerous dude with a very particular set of skills and some kind of violent past, which fits pretty much every major dad game protagonist ever. Okay, this one is mainly targeted at Kratos. Then there's the second pillar, the Bond. James Bond. Sorry. The best dad games don't just tell you there's a bond forming. They make you feel it through the gameplay and dialogue itself. Turns out there's actually a word for this. Ludonarrative harmony. Ludonarrative harmony occurs when a video game's mechanics and narrative are in alignment, creating a cohesive, immersive experience where player actions reinforce the story. Take The Last of Us, for example. At the start of the game, Ellie is essentially just following Joel around and being a massive pain in the ass. But as the game progresses and their relationship grows, she starts to become more involved in the gameplay. She warns Joel about enemies, throws bricks, and occasionally helps in combat. While, albeit these are minor things, it still showcases their bond growing outside of just cutscenes. God of War does the exact same thing with Atreus. Early on, he barely does anything outside of just occasionally firing his little bow every 4 business days. But as Kratos starts trusting him more, Atreus becomes genuinely useful in combat, and the gameplay evolves alongside their relationship. And for the third and final pillar, I've decided to call it the weight of the past. These protagonists are never blank slates. They are defined by their history, and that history impacts their approach to parenting. Joel's relationship with Ellie is basically one massive desperate attempt to rewrite what happened to Sarah. The trauma from losing his daughter bleeds into every decision he makes, influencing the infamous ending where he selfishly takes Ellie away from the Fireflies, knowing that her death would have created a cure. In my opinion, I low-key believe it was pointless anyways, because there's no chance those idiots could have made a cure, but that's besides the point. Then there's Kratos, who's in a fairly similar situation, except he actually murdered his whole family in a fit of rage, and he's been trying to atone for what he did for over a millennium. And that reflects in the way he treats Atreus. His whole parenting style is based on fear. Fear of his past, fear of himself, and fear that Atreus could become just like him. So now that we have our 3 pillars, the Protector, the Bond, and the weight of the past, these are the core essentials, in my opinion at least, that make a good dad game. Which finally brings us back to Pragmata, and why this game understands this formula surprisingly well. Before we properly get into the emotional side of Pragmata, we need to talk about the gameplay itself. It's a lot more fun than it seems. I haven't played any Capcom games outside of like maybe 3 minutes of Resident Evil Village for, obvious reasons, but Pragmata's combat feels really good once you get into it. Everything flows together in this really satisfying way where the game constantly forces you to juggle shooting, moving, and hacking all at once. Thankfully, Diana isn't just some annoying NPC fooling you around yelling "look out" every 5 seconds. The combat is built around 2 main things, shooting and hacking. Hugh handles the shooting, obviously, because he's built like a fridge. Meanwhile, Diana handles the hacking, because without hacking, your weapons hit enemies with all the power of a wet toilet roll. Very early on, the game makes it very clear that these robots are not messing around. Your pistol barely scratches them unless Diana hacks them first, which immediately makes both characters feel equally important, which when I picked up on, I found really cool. You literally can't function properly without each other. Now, weapon-wise, the game splits everything into different categories, each one having a specific purpose. The primary units we have are the grip gun and the pulse carbine. The grip gun is your standard reliable pistol type weapon. It regenerates ammo over time, so it becomes your fallback whenever things start going horribly wrong, which they usually do. Then there's the pulse carbine, which should be the spray and pray weapon, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. The recoil is absolutely insane, and the recharge speed feels painfully slow considering how quickly you burn through ammo. The real stars of the game are the attack units. Let's start with the shockwave gun, which is by far my favorite in the entire game. Once you've hacked an enemy and you get right up in their face, you're almost guaranteed to vaporize them. Oh my days! Whoa! To balance it out more, all of the units beside your primary have limited ammo. Once you shoot, it's gone. So you have to be a lot more strategic with the way you use them. Wasting a precious shotgun shot on an enemy you could easily take out with the grip gun, while there's a massive behemoth barreling towards you, is not a mistake you want to make. Trust me. The charge piercer was another weapon I really ended up liking. It's basically a railgun where the longer you charge it, the more damage it does. The problem is that enemies in this game refuse to respect personal space. Here it is. What is? Oh crap, you! Whoa! So trying to fully charge this thing while something is attacking you is practically impossible. The photon laser is a weapon that I never really used throughout my playthrough. It shoots out a laser beam that the longer it's held out for, the more damage it deals, which on paper sounds great, but in reality is pretty meh. Same for the homing missiles. When I first got them, they were pretty decent, but not good enough to be picking up over the railgun and shotgun. They can charge up to 6 shots in one go with a maximum of 12. I really just can't see any scenarios where this is worth picking up over the others. Now we have the third category of weapons, the tactical units. Tactical units are more for assists than actual damage. They set up other weapons to do their job better, like the stasis net that traps enemies in place, which combos perfectly with the charge piercer. As for the other 4 weapons in this section, they all suck. They're genuinely not even worth mentioning. Finally, the 4th category of weapons, defense units. These are all actually pretty decent. First, there's the decoy generator. It's really good when you're in a tight area and need a little bit of time to recuperate. You won't use it much, but it's always good to have on you. The impact arrow is another interesting weapon I never used often. It puts down an impenetrable shield which enemies can't get inside or shoot from the outside. There's also no health to it at all, but it does have a duration period, which is quite frankly long even on the lowest level. After playing for a while, the combat really started clicking for me. Pragmata constantly encourages you to change mechanics together instead of just mindlessly shooting things. Now, the hacking system is where the game gets really unique. Whenever Diana hacks an enemy, the game opens a grid-based minigame where you need to navigate towards the power node without trapping yourself. So it's a snake game basically. At first, it's pretty simple, but the game keeps introducing new mechanics to mess around with you. Some towers block your movement entirely, some instantly fail to hack, and right as you start to feel confident, the game immediately humbles you again. It forces you to think on your feet. There's also different hacking nodes you can pick up around the station which add extra effects during the hack. The most common node you'll see is the decode node. It adds a small damage multiplier to your attacks on that enemy. If you pass through the multiplier, the damage will increase. If you pass through multiple, the multiplier will increase. The most useful one by far is the multi-hack, because it lets Diana hack multiple enemies at once, which becomes an absolute lifesaver later on in the game when it starts throwing entire armies at you. And trust me, it loves doing that. Now that we have the fundamentals of the gameplay down, let's talk about where you'll actually be using them. Around the levels, you'll eventually stumble around these red zones. Red zones are like combat rooms where you test all the skills you've learned so far. You're locked in a small room with multiple waves of enemies that you have to kill for what is usually a really good reward. But to access these areas, you need a red gate key. These can just be found lying around, but if you want to get every single one, you really need to be on the lookout for them, because they're usually in really weird spots. I only did a few of these, but they are extremely well worth it. If you played anywhere near as reckless as I did, you'll be glad to know about the shelter. It's essentially a safe haven for Hugh and Diana, where they can just take a break from all the craziness that's going on around them. To access it, you either have to die to respawn back there.
Hugh, is everything okay?
Whoa. What the fuck?
Potato bridges are so cool!
Chop. We'll find these escape hatches that are scattered around fairly evenly around each level, which, trust me, you will definitely need to. One of my favorite mechanics in the entire game are these collectibles called Read Earth Memories, or REMs, which are little holograms of stuff from Earth. If you've seen clips of Pragmata online already, it was probably Diana reacting to one of these. She absolutely loves them. And weirdly enough, those little moments do a lot to humanize her. There were genuinely times where I completely forgot she was a robot.
The balloons all okay?
Yep, they're all there.
Look at you go. I was always popping or losing every balloon I saw. What's wrong?
Well, the truth is, I did lose one.
That's all part of what makes balloons fun. Don't sweat it.
You can also do a bunch of other random stuff in the shelter too. You can train your combat skills, check enemy data, unlock outfits. You can even play hide and seek with her. I mean, she's terrible at it, but it's adorable. Oh, there you are.
What's taking so long?
Yo,
I was sure you wouldn't find me there.
Then there's Cabin. This little gremlin lets you access stuff like stamp boards, which unlock weapons, cosmetics, and upgradables. He's useful, but also unbelievably annoying. The most important feature that the cab unlocks is the ability to change the music that plays in the shelter, which is pretty pointless, but there's a hidden feature that the game doesn't tell you about. Depending on what song is playing, you can actually get Diana to dance. Unfortunately, the songs needed to make her dance are locked behind the game's digital deluxe edition, which is quite an interesting decision for Capcom to make. Overall though, I really like Pragmata's gameplay. The combat is chaotic without feeling messy, the hacking stays fun throughout the game, and it's a lot more fun than I thought it would be. I really appreciate Diana's involvement in the actual gameplay. She's as important, if not more, than Hugh is. Now it's time to talk about the story, the main attraction of this game. It's fairly short for a £50 game, which is one of the biggest complaints I've seen for it. In my opinion, it's not really that big of a deal. No, I'm not bootlicking. Honestly, with the hours of fun that I got out of it and the level of polish, I think it's well worth the price. Most Capcom games justify their price points quite well. The story kicks off with Hugh and his irrelevant team investigating a lunar research station that has suddenly gone completely silent. It doesn't take long for things to go sideways. A moonquake conveniently kills the 2 crew members who still have their helmets on, which is just a sign for I'm not important. Hugh gets separated and falls into a giant pit and gets badly injured, which is where we meet Diana, or technically...
I am DI03367.
Don't you have a name or something?
I said I am DI0...
Okay. Look, how about we call you Diana?
Diana?
Yeah. From now on, you can be Diana. How's that fit?
Diana.
I'm Hugh. I don't do babysitting, but I'm gonna need your help, and,
Hugh. Diana.
yeah.
Hugh. Diana. Hugh. Diana. Hugh. Diana. Hugh. Diana. Hugh. Diana. Hugh. Diana.
Diana?
Diana!
After Diana patches Hugh up, almost immediately we get introduced to the evil base AI, Edis, who is very upset at our presence and sends the originally very friendly robot, which for some reason has a laser sword, at us. Hugh tries to kill it with his gun, but it does absolutely nothing, which is where Diana decides to show off to us that she's an android with the ability to hack other robots. Together, they defeat it and begin their journey to escape the moon. Here's my one tiny gripe with the story though. The relationship between Hugh and Diana moves a bit fast. From the jump, Hugh talks to Diana like he's known her for years. There isn't much of a getting to know you phase. They're just instantly best friends. It's not a huge deal, but we'll come back to it. A huge part of why their relationship works so well is because Diana genuinely acts like a child. She's curious about everything, constantly asking questions and getting excited over the smallest things because she's basically experiencing humanity for the first time.
We're animals!
And now we got deer.
They look like family.
Probably a buck and his fawn.
So their DNA is a 50% match.
Well, a family isn't just what's in your DNA.
It isn't?
Not at all. I mean, I was adopted.
Adopted?
Yeah, when a family takes you in as their own. Even though we don't share the same DNA, they're still my family. And I love them.
Which is what makes the REM scene so enjoyable to watch. Seeing Diana slowly become fascinated with Earth and human life adds way more emotional weight to the story than I expected. After going through the facility, they eventually meet a new character called 8, who looks suspiciously like Diana. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Turns out they're both pragmatas, a special kind of android. Oh, it is the name of the game, wow. It explains that Edis went rogue after the moonquake and reveals to Diana that she can actually shut down Edis using a special code. However, considering her situation, she can't really do much. You know, being trapped inside a tree and all. So 8 sends human Diana to go free her, which we do. Not before fighting this freaky scorpion robot, and man, this boss fight was a pain in the ass. After successfully defeating the scorpion, we make our way back to 8 and try and free her. However, this doesn't go well. Some nosy prick doesn't like this conversation, however, and tries to lock down the area. Hugh, with his insane aura, quickly takes Diana and they escape the room. Not before 8 transfers a code to Diana to shut down Edis. After we finally reach the mainframe and shut down Edis, surprise surprise, it turns out that Edis was only trying to contain this little psychopath. 8's actual plan is to contaminate Earth with dead filament, which is basically a byproduct of the lunar filament that was mentioned earlier, capable of dissolving organic matter. It's basically moon cancer. And this is where the story goes from all sunshine and rainbows to a little bit more serious. After 8 attacks them and badly damages Diana, Hugh rushes her to the pragmatic sector, where we finally learn about what these robot children actually are. Dr. Neil Higgins, one of the station's lead scientists, created the pragmata in an attempt to cure his daughter Daisy's illness. Which at first sounds slightly insane, because it is slightly insane. But the more the game reveals about Higgins, the sadder the whole situation becomes. Diana was actually considered a failure because her body rejected dead filament instead of storing it. 8, however, was specifically designed to collect it. After Daisy died during a failed medical procedure, Dr. Higgins basically completely lost himself. I never found out explicitly what he really did want, but I highly doubt it was mass genocide. The way I interpreted it was, 8 was super duper upset about his death. When she reconstructed his fragmented memories, she picked out a few parts where he was in a fit of rage, wishing death upon everyone, who 8 interpreted as his will. I'm pretty sure that wasn't his intention, but hey, you do you go. After Hugh patches Diana up, he starts making his way to convince 8 to stop. But we are 100% murking her, by the way. I hate this child. But plot twist, when 8 impaled Hugh earlier, he got infected with dead filament. He's dying. Of course he is. This game was way too wholesome, and one of them had to go eventually. Which he conveniently decides to hide from Diana because apparently every fictional character in existence is contractually obliged to keep life-threatening information a secret. And from this point onward, the game starts cranking the emotional slider. Like the absolute legend he is, Hugh locks in, and we absolutely destroy 8 in the final boss fight. Leading up to this point, I only died a handful of times. Most of my deaths were completely ridiculous as well, but this boss fight, it was certainly something else. It took me an embarrassing amount of tries to complete it, but I got there in the end. As she's dying, 8 begs Diana to tell the world about Dr. Higgins and yada 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 yada. We will not be doing any of that. I might have been more willing if she wasn't trying to commit mass genocide. Unfortunately though, this is a pretty short-lived victory, as Hugh's condition coincidentally gets significantly worse. Our boy does not have a lot of time left. And of course, as if Hugh wasn't dealing with enough already, this massive freakish dead filament amalgamation thing comes and attacks us. Now, this might single-handedly be the best boss fight in this game by a mile. I mean, the set is freaking awesome. Yeah, let's not let it catch us. Okay. Oh, crap.
Will do the trick. I'll charge it up, Hugh. You get ready to shoot.
You ready yet?
No.
A little more to go.
Aim! Aim! Move controller! Oh my god, 86,000! Oh my days, that's sick! Oh, whoa!
Diana, you okay?
No?
I'll try to protect us.
Oh, she's okay. Okay. Oh shit! Let's go, Diana. Oh,
Shoot now.
yes! Please! only we had this thing earlier. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. Oh, man, it's still coming after us? Bro,
You okay?
take the hint.
I'm already.
I feel like we're destroying vital infrastructure here, but, you know.
Getting close to the shuttle.
Let me try something.
What the hell? Whoa!
Hacking new tricks. Initiate.
Oh, whoa, I can't. To make matters even worse, while we're fighting it, the Mangle destroys the only escape shell, leaving Hugh and Diana trapped on the moon regardless of whether they defeat it or not. And Hugh is barely able to stand at this point. He's stumbling around while clearly in a lot of pain, and the game signifies further that Hugh is a goner by the fact that the only ship available is a cargo ship with sands in it that humans can't board. Even without the dead filament, Hugh is dead, and this fuck-ass game keeps rubbing it in my face. Now, we're forced to watch this miserable cutscene of Hugh sending off Diana into the shuttle, and she's completely oblivious to it.
Hugh, is everything all right?
Yeah. It's a heavy bugger.
I want to help.
Stay put. It's too risky.
Really, Hugh?
Let me hack it.
No need.
No.
Just gotta give it a bit of the old elbow grease.
No, okay. Sufficient energy, insufficient energy. What are you gonna do? Oh my days, he's gonna put his suit in it. He's gonna put his suit's power in it. Oh no.
Time to bring it in.
Yep, knew it. Knew it. Hugh.
Hugh?
Oh
Bad
no.
news. This is where we say goodbye.
Oh no.
Sorry, Squirt.
Oh
I want to stay with
no.
you.
It's okay. Gonna be okay.
Oh, that's so sad. Oh my days, no. You're sending her off to Earth with like no nose, no nothing. She's just gonna get there and not know what the fuck to do.
Go find this thing.
No, wait.
No. Low battery. GG's. GG's, bro.
Have a safe journey.
Just facing the Earth, you know. Oh. Oh shit! No, he's not even getting his side. He's just gonna drift in space. Oh my days. I don't tend to cry much during games, but emotional moments like these are so heartbreaking. When I was recording this part of the game, I legitimately had to hold back tears. After the credits that I definitely watched, there's an end credit scene that shows Diana actually landing on Earth and fulfilling her dream of seeing the ocean. Finds out what crab is for the first time. Bro. Oh my days and down.
I'm ready.
Oh, that's so sad. Oh my days. Yo, Capcom, fuck you, bro. What? I'm not crying. You are. Alright, look. As much as I loved it, this game isn't flawless. And the biggest issue goes back to what I mentioned earlier. The pacing of Hugh and Diana's relationship is a little bit too fast, which feels really weird to say considering their relationship is also the main reason why this game works emotionally. Hugh warms up to Diana almost immediately, and while their interactions are entertaining enough that I still got invested, it does feel like the game skips over a part of the emotional progression. And in a game where the relationship is the story, that matters a lot. At first, I thought maybe Hugh had kids of his own back at Earth, but a lore entry confirms that he doesn't. It makes their instant, powerful bond feel really unearned. The Last of Us is probably the best comparison here. Joel and Ellie don't immediately trust each other. Their relationship develops slowly over time through small moments, gameplay interactions, and conversations. So by the end of the game, Joel's final decision hits way harder because the player fully understands how attached he's become. Pragmata gets really close to reaching that same level, but it feels like there's a missing middle section. Like, there should have been another few hours where Hugh and Diana's bond had more time to develop naturally, or even Diana being weary of Hugh considering her past with Dr. Higgins. And the frustrating part is that everything else around the relationship is already so good. The dialogue is great, the gameplay reinforces the bond perfectly, the emotional moments land, and the ending is fantastic. It just needed a little bit more breathing room. That might be the most frustrating type of criticism possible, because besides that, the game is so close to greatness. I still think this story is really good overall, but with just a little bit more time, I genuinely think Pragmata could have hit even harder and joined the same tier as the titans that I mentioned earlier, which makes what I want to talk about next even more annoying. Okay, now for something that really pisses me off. It's not a problem with Pragmata specifically, but it's a problem in Pragmata, and we need to talk about it. Denuvo. Oh, Denuvo. Where do I even start with you? For anyone who doesn't know, Denuvo is an anti-tamper software meant to stop games from being pirated. It encrypts the game and constantly runs in the background, checking to make sure you're not a dirty, no-good pirate. It sounds great, right? Developers are protecting their hard work. Except for one tiny, insignificant problem. It hurts the performance of the game you paid for. Despite all the marketing around it, Denuvo rarely actually stops piracy. At most, it just delays cracks for a few days before someone inevitably breaks through it anyways. The poor performance isn't a myth either, it's a proven fact. Time and time again we've seen it. Resident Evil Village had major starring issues at launch that were massively improved upon once cracked versions without Denuvo started appearing. And recently, the exact same thing happened again with Resident Evil Requiem. How are we still doing this in the big 26? This isn't just a Capcom issue, by the way. This is an industry-wide issue. And what annoys me the most is that Pragmata is exactly the kind of game people should experience at its absolute best. This is a heavily cinematic, story-focused game where immersion matters a lot. So seeing performance potentially get dragged down by anti-piracy software that barely even works in the first place is unbelievably frustrating. The people who actually buy the game end up getting the worst experience, while pirates sometimes get the cleaner version. Not to toot my own horn, but I have a pretty good computer. There should be no game in existence that runs poorly. And if games are running bad on my PC, imagine what it's like for someone with a normal PC. Denuvo has been proven to be ineffective. At best, it delays a crack by a few days. A pirate isn't just going to see they can't get a game for free on day one and suddenly decide to fork over £70. They're just not going to play it. So all Denuvo really ends up doing is inconveniencing legitimate customers while barely slowing piracy down anyways. Now, to be clear, this isn't really a criticism of Pragmata itself. The actual game is fantastic, but it is something surrounding the game that frustrated me enough that I had to mention it. Now, after that rant's over, let's get back on track to the topic of this video. Is Pragmata actually the best dad game? And if we're being completely honest, no, it's not. But I also think that doesn't really matter, because even if Pragmata doesn't reach the same level as stuff like God of War, The Last of Us, or Telltale's The Walking Dead, it absolutely deserves to be mentioned alongside them. What Pragmata excels at best is understanding why the dad game formula works in the first place. The protector, the bond, and the weight of the past. Hugh fits perfectly into the role of the emotionally damaged protector, trying to keep this child alive in a situation that keeps getting worse every 5 minutes. The gameplay reinforces the bond between Hugh and Diana instead of relying entirely on cutscenes, and even though Hugh's past isn't explored quite as deeply as characters like Joel or Kratos, the game still understands the emotional core that makes these stories work. Now, obviously, the game isn't flawless. I still think Hugh and Diana's relationship develops a little too quickly early on. I really wish the story had an extra few hours just to let those quieter moments breathe more naturally. Because if it nailed that pacing perfectly, I genuinely think this could have become an all-time classic. But even with those flaws, I still had an amazing time with it. It takes everything from what its predecessors did and builds upon them to create something that feels both familiar and incredibly fresh. While the titans of the past may still hold their crowns, Pragmata has more than earned its place on a throne right beside them. So no, Pragmata isn't the best dad game, but it is one of the best story-driven games I've played in a long time, and I think that's more than enough for me.